A Flemish rabbit can get upwards of 50 pounds and 4 feet long. We'll talk about that and more fun Flemish rabbit facts while I sketch this little hippity hoppiter. So let's just turn the page and get started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on is it Saturday morning? Good Lord, it is Saturday morning. 5:30 in the morning on Saturday mornings. That's a very special time for me because it's when I like to do a thing where I pull a random object from the random object randomographer and I draw it and we talk about it. And today's random object from the random object randomographer is a Flemish rabbit. And these things are huge. Huge. 4 feet long. Up to 4 feet long, 55 pounds. Ridiculous. That's the size of a small dog. That's the size of a medium-sized dog. Huge. I think Claudia at one time said she had a Flemish Giant.
Seems like it was floppy.
I know she had lops. She said she had the big floppy-eared rabbits. Maybe she just knew what a Flemish Giant was when I held that one rabbit up to one time and thought that it might be a Flemish Giant. Maybe I'm getting that confused. Maybe Claudia will show up and clear that up for us. Good morning, Rick. How are you today, sir? But maybe Claudia will show up today and fill us in. Seems like I remember her knowing a little bit about Flemish rabbits. But this little guy. So Darius is a Flemish rabbit that held the world's record for being the longest rabbit at 4 foot 3 inches and 49 pounds. His name was Darius. He was in the UK. And in 2018, up to 2018, he was the longest rabbit alive at the time. He wasn't the biggest rabbit alive, but he was the longest rabbit alive. The biggest was a competitor named Ralph, who was 55 pounds. Darius was only 49 pounds, but Ralph was 55, a 55-pound rabbit. Put this in perspective. That's the size of the large bag of dog food. When you go to the grocery store and you see the large bag of dog food, the dog food is the size of a school child. That's the weight of this rabbit we're talking about. Those dog food sacks aren't even 55 pounds anymore. They're 45 pounds. This is heavier than a modern bag of dog food. Huge rabbits. Obviously bred for food, but quickly adopted as pets because their size, they're fairly intelligent, they're docile, kind of like capybaras. They're just nonchalant. Huge. I'm still wrapping my head around a 55-pound rabbit. Darius ate 2,000 carrots and 700 apples a year, and a bale of hay every week. Now, when they say a bale of hay, I got to think it's the small square bales. I can't. In my head, my grandfather was a cattle rancher, and when I think of a bale of hay, I think of the big round bales that you see on the side of the road that people dress up as pumpkins during Halloween. I think the big round bales, but that's not what they fed this rabbit. They fed this rabbit I'm sure the small square bales. It's funny to me that they fed them carrots though, because carrots are not rabbit food. Rabbits in the wild won't eat carrots; they're too sweet. It's not. It's not something the rabbits. It's not something that rabbits consider food. But you always see pet rabbits have carrots and the like. It's a cheap source of crunch and fiber for the rabbit. But not if you've got to have 2,000 pounds of them. That's a lot of carrots. That that's the scale of a small horse. 2,000 carrots, 700 apples, and a bale of hay every week. That's on scale with a small horse. Good morning, Pamela. If you can't tell, I'm a little shocked at the size and scope of these rabbits. I mean, I knew they were big, but it just never occurred to me exactly how big they were. That's enough pencil mark. I'm already starting to confuse myself with that ear over there. We're moving a pen. We're switching the pen. Has anybody ever? What you said?
It's okay if you make him chunky.
It's okay if I make him chunky. He's pretty chunky. Yeah. He's pretty chunky on his own.
I know.
Has anyone ever seen one of these? Up close and personal? Pamela, Rick? I'm sure Claudia has. I bet Joe has. If Joe makes it in this morning, I bet Joe has. I've never seen one up close and personal, but I was talking to my wife when I was researching these things. I was like, we need a couple of these. We could replace the dogs with these things. They're quiet, and I think they would go a lot further towards scaring the burglars.
Yeah, I don't think it's a threat.
All right, so think about this. A burglar comes into your house, and he's rifling through your stuff, and he looks up, and here's this 50-pound rabbit looking over at him expecting a carrot. And while he's sitting there pondering the fact that there's a 50-pound rabbit looking at him trying to figure out if he's got carrots, here's another 50-pound rabbit wandering up trying to figure out what the first rabbit's paying attention to. And the next thing you know, you've got 3 50-pound rabbits gathered around you. Surely I'm not out of ink. No. Next thing you know, you've got 3 50-pound rabbits gathered around you, trying to figure out if you've got carrots. It would be unnerving, to say the least. I'm not saying it would stop a burglar, but I think it would be disconcerting. It might be the kind of thing where the burglar's like, "Oh, we have to get out of here. This is just too creepy. This is Alfred Hitchcock creepy." Of course, nobody under 40 knows who Alfred Hitchcock is. That funny.
It says rabbits are always chewing something.
Yeah.
It would be terrifying.
Got their little mouth going like this. They have to because they've got to keep their teeth worn down. Yeah, their teeth are constantly growing. If they don't keep their teeth worn down, they'll bite themselves and they'll injure themselves. And if they injure themselves and they won't eat because they have an injury, they'll die. They'll get I forget what that condition's called, but it's where their gut locks up on them.
Emma says, "Who's that?"
Who's who?
I don't know. She just who's that?
Does Pamela see somebody? Is the person in the room with us now, Pamela?
I'm not going there. Maybe my voice was different.
Maybe. Oh, Hitchcock. Because I said nobody under 40 knows who
okay.
Hitchcock is, and she said, "Who's that?"
Okay, smart aleck. He's smarty today.
She's always smart. She's always smart. She's always been pretty sharp.
Can't believe I fell for that.
I fell for it. I had no idea what she was talking about. Oh my goodness.
I didn't just leave last night.
I didn't get hardly any. I laid down last night about 8 o'clock, 8:30 or so. And then I got up at midnight, 12:30, and went to the movies with my family. We went to the movies and saw Spider-Man. We got home at 4. We got home at 4. They have wandered off to bed. And I was like, I still have to do a show. Get to do a show. This is my favorite time of day. This is my favorite time of day. And today, no, she didn't want to see Spider-Man. She made it very clear she was not interested in going to see Spider-Man in theaters. We wouldn't have gone without her if she had. Well, that's not true. I probably still would have gone without her. But I don't feel bad because she said she wasn't interested.
Interesting.
But I can tell you all this nonsense that you hear on the news about people being fatigued with superhero movies. Every single theater, every theater at the cinema was showing Spider-Man. They had a new Spider-Man starting every 10 minutes, and every one of them was sold out.
Good grief.
We didn't see the last one. Ours started at 1:30. I think the last one started at 2. And then they're shutting down. They don't open back up until 7:30. The first showing tomorrow is 7:30, and it's already booked. It's already sold out. They're sold out until 6 p.m. tomorrow night.
Pamela says, would someone wake me up when they come up with an original concept again?
You know, this was pretty original. Subtle hint. Woo! This was actually a pretty original story. But bringing comic books to life, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no difference between that and people going to ancient literature and bringing it to life. I feel like this was very well done. I'm gonna warm him up with some vermilion real quick, and then we're gonna come back with some shading. He's got some pink parts that need to shine through the shading. And I don't want the shading to overpower his like his ears and stuff. So I'm going to start with the vermilion.
Just an information. I hear music this morning.
Does anybody hear music, or is it just my mom? Before I adjust the music.
They hear it.
I don't either. I know that sometimes it doesn't. I can't hear it on the playback, and but then I can hear it on the recording. So I have no idea. I'm kind of afraid to change the settings. All right, now let's look at some shading here. It's more.
Yeah. Because then the next thing you know, it's blaring out your ear.
Right. And I can't hear it, so. To do this, you have to do it in the direction of the fur, so that when you come back and do the fur, you don't have things going cross grain with your fur. So you want to make sure you follow the direction of the fur when you add the shadows. Harding. All right, now we'll put a drop shadow on him. Darius in 2021 was turned up missing. Turned up missing is not a very good phrase, because then it sounds like they found him missing. I mean, I found him. Darius is missing. Went missing in 2021 out of the backyard of the owner, and they offered a reward for his return, a £1,000 note for his return, but he never came back. You wonder who wants to steal a 50-pound rabbit until you remember that one, it's possible that nobody knew it was Darius, that the person who stole the rabbit didn't know it was Darius. It's possible that whomever stole the rabbit was just stealing food. I think who'd want to steal a 50-pound rabbit? Well, if you're hungry enough, just about anybody. These things have been bred since the 1500s, since the 16th century, and they were bred for food. They didn't have anything to do with Belgium, though. How they got the Flemish name, there might have been a Belgian ancestor, but they really think it was a Patagonian rabbit from Argentina, which I'm going to have to do more research on that, because I thought we had hares in North America. I didn't think we had rabbits in North America. And hares and rabbits are not closely related. You can't interbreed hares and rabbits. Hares have when their kits are delivered, their kits hit the ground running. They're wide awake, eyes open. They're ready to run within a few hours. They only need to nurse once a day. If they need to nurse at all, they're ready to go. They hit the ground running. Rabbits have helpless kits that have to be nursed and raised for a few weeks. Their eyes are not born open. They're not born with their eyes open, ready to run. There are major differences between the life cycle of a hare and a rabbit, and so I was under the impression that the rabbits in that we had hares in North America and not rabbits, but I could be completely wrong on that. I'll just have to do some more research. My information may be tainted or outdated.
I think there's both.
But are there wild rabbits? I know we brought rabbits to the Americas. Are there wild rabbits in the Americas? Because there's the snow hare. Don't know. I'd have to, like I said, I have to do more. I'd have to do more research. Oh no, not more research. No.
Cottontails are rabbits.
Are they?
Cottontails, jackrabbits.
I thought jackrabbits were hares. The jackrabbit the other day. More yellow. I have to clean my.
This is how the hair.
I'm gonna have to clean my trays up. My trays are getting contaminated.
We still have cottontail rabbits.
Do we? Are they? And they're rabbits, not just
Yes.
not just something we call a rabbit.
I'll tell you what, Genesis the rabbit gets made, so
Is it like Lepidoptera?
that's the family. It's like still like us. It's still be a something. Sylvilaghus. Within the family of the guy, which classifies it as rabbit.
Shock you that I knew that. That was.
I've known you a long time. You know a lot of things.
You and I go way back.
Yeah. Emma says she thinks this might be in your favorite part of that shading.
You know, I do love the shading. I gotta tell you, I may have never told you guys before, but I do love the shading. And if I fail to mention it this time, it's only because I was so enraptured by it. I do love the shading. Like, I feel like a light coat of ochre over the top. Wascally Wabbit. I feel like a light coating of ochre on top of that wouldn't hurt. We'll have to come back in and add some ink marks for fur. I think we pretty much have that color down. Can't talk, Harding. His nose isn't pink. I just noticed. It's not pink on the model. I don't know if it's supposed to be pink or not. Moving around upstairs. That shocks me. I thought they would all be unconscious by now. Let me dry this. I lost this shadow right here. Dry this real quick, and then we'll ink it. Here. Can't talk, Harding. Again, they started breeding these things in the 1500s. They did bring back the Patagonian rabbit from Argentina, and they think that that is the source of the size of this thing. But they had them on record breeding in the 1500s, but they didn't recognize it as a breed until 1890. popular meat rabbit. They can have 5 to 12 kits a year. And again, they're yielding 50, upwards of 50 pounds, maybe 35 to 50 pounds per kit. And that's a lot. So they're very popular as meat animals. It's funny to me because these things are eaten, not just this rabbit, but lots of all the rabbits that we've drawn are eaten worldwide. There is a market for them worldwide. But have you ever walked into a grocery store, and folks that don't live within the United States may have this? We do not. I have never in my life seen this in the United States. And it may just be that I'm sheltered. But have you ever walked into a butcher shop and saw rabbit meat on the shelf, ready for sale?
No.
I have not either.
Every time I hear that, and we saw on the show was, all the printing season was active.
Right. I have not heard of them on the shelf. There was one named Alex the Great that was he was trained to be a therapy animal. Now, how do you train a rabbit to be a therapy animal? Now they're pretty smart. You can litter train rabbits. They're pretty smart, especially when they start getting bigger. When they're small, they have a brain the size of a thumb, and not the smartest of animals. But as they get bigger, they have a certain amount of intelligence. I wouldn't put them anywhere near on par with a dog, but I might say they're smarter than a cat. But mostly because I think cats are dumb. Today's the first. I don't think cats are bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't have cats as a pet. Don't come at me. I'm not saying cats aren't adorable. I'm just saying they're dumb. They have a brain the size of your thumb. They're dumb. Yeah, they're quite entertaining, especially when they prop up on their sides and they prance. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. What's not hilarious is when they come up and they lay on your lap and they expose their tummy to you so you can scratch their tummy. And then you reach down and you scratch their tummy and they latch their claws into you and they leave scars up and down your arm as they attack you. That's not cute. Anyway, traumatized. Rabbits don't do that kind of stuff. I'm not sure rabbits cuddle much. I've never had a pet rabbit that cuddled, so I don't know anybody who's had a pet rabbit. Do they cuddle, or do they just go into that catatonic state where they're scared to death, scared to move, and you can just manipulate them to do pretty much whatever you want? I don't know.
Everything I read says they cuddle.
Yeah, I guess somebody who sells rabbits would say that.
What?
I said people who sell rabbits would say that. But the real question is, do they really cuddle, or are they just too terrified to move? All right. Pamela says her daughter's rabbit cuddled. So, but anyway, Alex the Great was a therapy animal, and she had I forget the owner's name, but she trained him. He was 28 pounds. And she trained him to be a therapy animal and got him certified through San Francisco's therapy animal registration program. And she would take him into airports and elderly people, elder centers, and and he would calm the people there and make them feel happy for a little while. But he died. He only lived 4 years old, got cancer and died. He only lived to be about 4 years. I don't know what's the average lifespan of one of these things. Isn't it 10 years? I think the average lifespan of one of these things is 10 years. But that one died at 4. Most of them, yeah, actually, right here it says 8 to 10 years. Most of them are pets now. And 4-H and FFA like to keep them because of their ease of care and their when they do their animal husbandry part of their program in the elementary and middle schools and high schools. They're real popular among 4-H and FFA members, and so a lot of the schools keep them for that. But anyway, there's my version of it compared to the photograph. Let's see it. Anyway, I was telling my wife we should get a couple of them. And not only would we have great big pet rabbits, but a good source of food. She didn't think that was as funny as I did. I thought it was terribly funny. I thought it was terribly funny. But then I'm a little bit of a dark humored kind of guy. Probably could have gone with some more red on that. I don't know. It's good. I'm happy with it. We're stopping. I'm not going to fuss with it anymore. That one's done. Moving on. Tomorrow, what do we have tomorrow? What could it possibly be? Ooh, it's an egg. The suspense. I know the suspense is what's holding everybody up. Everybody's excited about the expense. The suspense. What could it be? What could it be? What could it be? Oh, well, yes, that'll be quite interesting. Yes, indeed, it's a moon rover. If you believe that we went to the moon, as you know, some people don't. I am not some people. I believe we went to the moon. But if you believe we went to the moon, there are 3 of these on the moon right now, because they pack them up and on the outside of the moon lander and fold them up into a suitcase size object, and then when they get on top of the moon lander, they just pull a cord, and the thing pops open into a 10-foot by 6-foot car that they don't have any way to bring back home. And so 3 times they've taken one of these things up there, and all three times they've left them there. Nobody knows if they're operable. For all we know, they're still operable. They've just been sitting on the moon. And the problem is, well, we'll talk about all this stuff tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. Texas time. So if you're interested and want to know more fun lunar rover facts, we're going to talk about this tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. Texas time while we draw it. And you're going to want to set your notification bell for that. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. I have posers. What? Is that what you're drawing? Posers? Posies? Posers? I'm not sure. I don't know what a poser is. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I'm waiting for Pamela to clear that up because I don't know what a poser is. I think she's talking about what she's drawing, or is it a breed of rabbit? I don't know. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I do look forward to it every day. This is my favorite time of the day when I get to art with my besties. Oh, she has a question. You have a question? We pause while we wait for the lag to allow Pamela to ask a question. Probably be faster if I got the keyboard out and I could ask the question. But we have to wait for the lag to get to Pamela. Riveting. About the rover. Oh, she has questions about the rover. Okay, we're going to talk about the rover tomorrow. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I do look forward to this every day when I get to art with my besties. She says, so I'll wait. When I get to art with my besties, It's the only art. Often it's the only art I get to do, but it does hold me accountable to my art practice, and I do look forward to it every day. Pamela, Rick, thank you for joining me this morning. I do appreciate visiting with you every day. Mom and Dad, again, thanks for your help as well. Be sure and tune in tomorrow. Same artistic biker time, same artistic biker channel, and then we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing, because when they see me dancing, I will know that the lag has caught up with the stream, and I can know that I won't be cut off mid-sentence. It will allow you to click the clicky thingies this way if you're on the horizontal, and that way you can watch another fantastic video just like this one. And it gives everybody a chance to say hello and goodbye to each other and to ask any questions they may have, except about the rover, because that's tomorrow morning, not today. But again, the most important part of this is that I don't get cut off